Welcome to Muddy Paint and Book, where I totally got distracted by books and argued with my phone's storage all month. My name is Katie, and this is my coping mechanism. So, what I'll be doing is drawing out one of the pictures that I had previously painted at a camp. Well, we went camping. I did sketches and painted a cute little, the scene throughout the day with all the different colors. And I got an apron and decided that I wanted to cover it with this scene. And I'll do it this way with a pre-recording of the drawing because I'm still trying to figure out how to record and organize thoughts at the same time, and apparently I can't move my hands and talk at the same time, so it's been a lot of recording and then looking at it and going, and that is a shot of just my knee. Let's not stare at my knee for half an hour. That sounds like a horrible idea. But in the meantime, I've read like 12 different books and started 5 more because I can't handle sticking to one thing at a time, apparently. And so we'll just do a quick catch up. So what I was originally planning on talking about was Crying Wind, written by Linda D. Staford, who also goes by Crying Wind. There's a lot of back and forth with her stuff. Like with her information, it's almost as if she had an idea of how she wanted to present herself, and then she changes her mind along the way. But either that or there was a change in the environment and her producers changed the way that they wanted to show her off to the world. It's that they treated the name Crying Wind as if it were a pen name, and then they said, but wait, that's actually her name though, and so it's frustrating. But I kind of get it. But, so Crying Wind is, and sorry, the camera's gonna be very shaky. I'm holding it in my hand, or I was holding it in my hand, and I kept forgetting that I'm holding it in my hand, and so maybe, it should be pointed out what I'm doing? Like that would be nice. Like, right now, this is me making little plant stroke marks. Maybe I should have the camera pointed at that, or, closer to it? Adjust that frame? Anyway, so Crying Wind is about a half-breed, she calls herself a half-breed, and oftentimes that's what we'll call ourselves. So she's half Native American, half white, and her parents did not love each other. Like, dad's out of the picture right away. Mom is not happy about her child's existence, and this baby is named Crying Wind. And this book is how do I say this? It's a calling to faith. It's about the life of this woman and how she went from living on the reservation, living in a family that didn't love her completely because of the circumstances of her birth, and decided that she didn't want to be in that life. She wanted the life that she saw when she finally left. When she finally saw something else, she saw how other people had the ability to show more love and affection than what her home environment was. And she ran to that hard. Well, she's a little hesitant, but she ran to that hard. Like once she finally decided, she went all in. Um, Now there is a second book to it, but I haven't read that yet, mostly because it took me forever to finish this book. Um, Not in a it's hard to read sort of way. It's not boring. It's that so many horrible things happen to this woman as she's growing up and as she's a little tiny adult, um, that I was crying every other paragraph. Like, ugly crying, box of tissues. It was just gross. Like, there were moments like, I'm all happy, bouncy, I'm gonna go read. And then the boy comes in a couple minutes later and he's like, what happened? I'm like, the grandma died. It's just like, get that okay, crazy person, and then I got left alone again. So, I do recommend this, but with a lot of warning. There's a lot of abuse. There's alcoholism, and just there's a lot of attempted suicide. Just several of the characters, they're horribly depressed. They're in horrible situations. They don't see a way out. They don't think that there's a way out, and the only possibilities that could be a way out, that leaves them so that they don't have access to the people that they love. Just the boundaries that this family or this area set up, it makes it so that if you go this way, you can't come back. Um, which I think will be addressed more in book 2 because it kind of leans towards that towards the end of book 1. But I need to stock up on tissues before I hit book 2. So, um, quarantine issues, like it just, anyway, but, she, there's a lot of moments where I can relate a whole lot. Just, I love going in, or just going into work and finding out that, yeah, you could do your job wonderfully, but this person is not happy to see you because of the pigment of your skin or the facial or your facial structures. Just like I am a mixed breed, and it depends on how much I've absorbed the sun for whether or not people think I'm completely white, which I never thought about growing up because like I never cared when I was younger, but I guess it or as I grew older, it became an issue. Like it's a difference between whether or not a cashier here is nice to me, whether or not she thinks I'm white. Because apparently sometimes I'll get an accent or like I'll switch from a southern accent to a Spanish accent and it'll be so if I have a slightly southern Arizonan accent, she's very nice. She'll hand me my groceries. My groceries will be in a nice little beautiful thing. If I've been hanging out with my grandmother, though, I'll go to the store and I'll sound Hispanic, and like my just the way that my mouth shapes the words is different, and like God forbid I had spent the last few weeks in the sunlight because then suddenly I'm darker too. So then this cashier will suddenly like my groceries are tossed in haphazard, and then they're kind of chucked at me if she bothers to hand them to me at all. Like there's drastic change. And that's just like the polite example that I can give you of the differences that like there's just um That's just a tiny bit. But she experiences these types of issues too. Like just people refusing to have her serve them at her work environment. Like her job is to sell things. She can't sell things to these people because she's not white. She can't get a job here because she's Native American. Um, and in that area, they just it was a big issue. So throughout the book, she hops around like I think the issue that I have is that she changed the dates. Like she said that she adjusted a bit of the information that went into this book, so that people aren't called out for their issues, to protect people's privacy, basically. And then she also changes some of the dates so that it's harder to match up which place it was. Um, just to make it easier for her to not get sued. You know, polite things. Um, Fun issues. But I don't actually remember what I rated this book. Hang on. Let's see. I rated it 4 stars. So 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Goodreads, not Google Reads, because that doesn't exist. Anyway, but that's mostly because just it's well written. It's a memoir. It's the way that but it's like the way that she explains things. They are coming from her, so I can't be too judgy about it. It's, um, er, in the first time that it was published, what I got is that it was presented as if it were a novel or a novella. It was supposed to be mostly fictional. And then when they represented it years later, they went, no, this is a true story. This is my life. This is what happened. These are all true things that happened to me, and they are important. And I don't know what caused this change, and it bothers me. Other than just the possibility of it could have been who would read about a Native American woman's transition from her tribe's religions to or tribe's religion to the one that she chose, which was Christianity. Like, who would read a true story like that? Like me, but like I'm special. And just it bothers me. There's also the way that things are said. Just that sounds weird. The way things are presented. It's just I like the idea of all the things that she's talking about. I like that they are being spoken about. These things are mentioned, but there are things that I don't agree with the book that don't detract from the book completely, and that's fine. Like I didn't say it was 2 stars. Like 2 stars would be sucky. Um, but read it for you and see how you like it. Um, my only other thought is so whenever I read a book or a story about this person switching from one religion to another, or they had no religion and now they do, um, all I keep thinking is, dude, you're in an unloved environment, or you're by yourself, you're living in horrible situations, you're poor, you're starving, and these people come up and suddenly offer you food and shelter and friendship and but there's also this church that they go to. All I can hear is cults, cults. It's a cult. I'm like, you don't go to those places. They're cults. you're gonna end up drinking the Kool-Aid. It's gonna be bad. And just, which makes me a terrible Catholic. Because, like, that's supposed to be what we're supposed to be doing. And apparently I suck at that. But that's just a personal issue. Like, if you don't have issues with, like, if you love conversion stories, this is a great conversion story. Um, if you are a Christian and you love stories about people converting to your faith, you will love this story. If you are not, this will strike a whole bunch of nerves with you. Um, and like, I am religious, but like, I'm also a skeptic when it comes to joining groups of people. Like, it took me several months to even start doing videos. And even with that, like, I'm recording me painting, and I seem to really argue with the white on this piece of canvas. Like, it's a canvas apron. Um, and, like, I don't know. Let me know if watching this shot of a very bouncy, shaky, horrible covering of black canvas with white paint, because that was interesting. I bought the apron without thinking about what I was going to paint on it because I wasn't sure. Um, like, I had been painting a lot of things with dark skies lately, so I figured maybe I would end up doing that. No, I wanted a pretty blue sky, which requires an underpainting. Um, but oh, and then I also ran out of room on my camera. I had to rearrange everything, buy new storage items, and then go back to the store, buy an adapter so that I could use those storage items. And just, it's been a long, long month. I think I have like 10 minutes left in the recording. Possibly 15. Anyway. So the next book I read was Sabriel by Garth Nix. And I love this book, and I am so glad that it was a series. Okay, so book 1 is Sabriel. Book 2 is Lyriel, and then it's Abhorsen, and then there's a couple of half-time books, you know how it goes, book 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 3 point, and like it's got a couple of those. And then it goes to Clariel and Golden Hand. And there's another one coming out in September, but I don't remember the name of that one. I'll look it up and like put it somewhere like on the screen. But I love this series. Like, I am obsessed. So it's a whole entire world basically. There's a modernish, like, think almost steampunky, like old England, and then there's the older magical area, or the entire world is all together, and then there's a divide. One side has magic, the other side does not. The side that does not has cars, guns, think World War One era, where they kind of talk about things that happen in the area with magic, but like no one really believes that. Like, have you seen magic? No. Well, then it's not real. You should, stop that. You're being ridiculous and wasting my time. And then the other side, like, they can't believe that there's a world where they don't have magic. Like, what do you mean you can't go to the land of the dead and talk to some evil creature to pull back it into the living world to kill your business partner so that you can take over the area and have lots of money? Like, just, okay, so that doesn't happen. But that's an extreme example of what would happen in that world. And just so many things I love about this series that I'll actually do a full video of just this collection, but it will be in segments because I want to buy the whole or I did the audiobooks, but I want to buy the whole collection all in a nice, pretty matching set, and have it be all beautiful on my bookcase. Like I buy a lot of used books, but this one I want as a brand new, gorgeous creature, all in its own self altogether. Because I fell in love with this world completely. Um, but as a quick explanation, so in the world where there's magic, there's a family called the Abhorsons, where like that's your title. You are the Abhorson, and your job is to figure out what what the necromancers, the other necromancers, are doing, and undoing their work. They are necromancers that work for good. So there's necromancers that are bringing up the dead so that they can take over this village, and your job is to go into the village, find the necromancer, and stop them, and then put all the dead back. And there's just the characters are so well written. The conversations just flow beautifully. Just And then I went online to try to find like screenshots of just the quotes, and like there's a few fan pages here and there, but like nothing at all to what I'm used to with the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones stuff. Like those groups have maps that you can click on and figure out the exact date correlation between real life and the lives in the books, so that you can map your calendar, your personal calendar, with what happened throughout the book. Like with Lord of the Rings, I've got an app where I track my steps and I type it in, and it tells me where I'm at in the book based on what steps match the steps in the book. Like it just doesn't compare to the fam groups are just not as hyped as I want them to be. Like, just hardcore obsessions. But I'll make another video that's strictly just that series, because it's two plot lines that parallel to a certain extent, and then they branch off. At least two. It might be three now that I think about it. Anyway, got a few more minutes left of the little bit of painting. What I'll do is I will talk to the end of this recording of the painting. Like I'll go over and I'll paint in stages, but I'm also cleaning my studio so that it can suck less. Just I bought new furniture and rearranged everything, and like I'm trying to get things out of boxes and onto shelves, and so that it can function well enough for me to paint in it, and then like it should, look nice, so that I can find the right brush in a decent amount of time, because that's annoying when you can't do that. Like your paint dries and it's just disgusting. But of course, Sabriel I rated 5 stars. Teeny tiny bit more time. Then Hellsing Volume 4. So the Hellsing series is another one that I would want to buy completely. It's Dracula, but in a modern time in England, working for the Hellsings, or for the vampire hunters. And they've got a business where they go in and they go kill monsters, and he works for them. Like, he helps do their bidding, kind of. So can you do that, or can you do your work this time, but like without destroying the city? It's depending on how bored he is, or how much fun it was destroying the city while he was fighting those evil creatures. Um, and I just love this manga. It's funny, it's messy, it's beautiful at the same time. I love the illustrations all throughout the book. Uh, the characters are sassy. Just, ugh. And then, of course, you're fighting Nazis. So, it's the perfect book for me. Like, it's got heavy religion in both directions. Two religions arguing. Um, Man, I can't make up my mind with painting. I'm like, I want it blue. That's too blue. Anyway, um, so Hellsing is another 5-star.